evening. Here is top news newsletter, starting with the headlines. More than 3 civilians killed by terrorist rocket shells at Damascus. In Iraq, Prime Minister orders end 2-year-old Baghdad night curfew. Yemen's Ansarullah announced national measures to reorganize authority. More than three civilians were killed by rocket shells fired by Takfiri terrorists in the east of Al-Ghouta at residential neighborhoods in Damascus. The rocket attacks resulted in killing 3 civilians, injuring at least 30 material damage at houses and burning a number of cars. 6 injured civilians arrived at Al-Muassat hospital, including a woman, a source at the hospital said. Meanwhile, at Damascus hospital said that 2 killed bodies and 22 injured civilians, some of them in critical condition, arrived in the hospital. Continuation in the Syrian situation, terrorists from the so-called ISIL, Islam Army, Ahrar al-Sham, and Jabhat al-Nusra were killed and wounded during the army's operation in Al-Qalamon, Zibdin, Douma, Harasta, Zamalka, and Jobar in Damascus countryside. An army unit destroyed a warehouse for rockets in addition to a number of armed vehicles in Al-Qalamon mountains, and 40 other terrorists were also killed in Douma. In a relevant context, the army controlled the new buildings between Ain Tarma and Zamalka, Jobar in Damascus countryside, killing all terrorists who were positioned there. Units of the army and armed forces killed a number of terrorists and wounded others in Rahum, Ankil Hawa, and Rish in the countryside of the central province of Homs. The army killed and injured a number of terrorists in Talbisa area and Homs' northern countryside. In Dar al-Balad, units of the army and armed forces continued chasing members of the terrorist organizations. Army operations resulted in the death and injured of many terrorists, destroying some of their vehicles there. Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abad has ordered an end to the night-time curfew that has been in force in Baghdad for years, Brigadier General Sadman said. The move came after Abadi visited the Operation Command and was briefed on the security situation and the status of Operation Man said. Lifting the curfew is a major change to a long-standing policy aimed at curbing violence in the capital by limiting movement at night. The decision to lift the curfew comes as Iraqi forces battle to regain control over ground seized by the Takfiri group ISIL, which has launched an offensive on several areas north and west of Baghdad last June. While the capital is no longer under threat of a major assault by the Takfiri terrorists, so it is still hit by frequent bombings. The Revolutionary Committee of Ansarullah movement in Yemen announced national measures aimed at reorganizing authority in a bid to resolve the power vacuum in the country. The committee said these measures would be national, responsible, and non-exclusions, noting that these measures are aimed to fill the current power vacuum. We are standing by the people and their choices, said the Revolutionary Committee of Ansarullah, who drove out Al-Qaeda terrorists from the capital Sana'a last September. Meanwhile, several political factions agreed to form a presidential council in a way to be fit for a constitution. The agreement took place following a meeting between the factions aimed at discussing the current crisis in the country. Earlier on Sunday, Ansarullah revolutionaries set a 3-day deadline for the parties to resolve the power vacuum in Yemen since the president and the prime minister offered to resign last month. The deadline was set at the end of the 3-day meeting in Sana'a, attended by thousands of figures, including those representing the party of ousted President Ali Abdullah Saleh, tribal chief, and officers in military uniform. In Libyan view, gunmen stormed the Al Mabrouk oil field in the central Libya, the latest oil facility hit by violence in the North African country, leaving 12 people killed, and a Libyan official said. Most were beheaded or killed by gunfire, commander of a security force said, in a charge of protecting the Al Mabrouk oil field south of Sirte. Mazab added that his men has regained control of the field, which used to pump for 40,000 barrels a day, but it's not operating now. The French energy company Total has a stake in the site, but it's not contracted to a Libyan company. Details of the attack were difficult to determine because the two rival governments control different parts of the country, each with their own armies. Rival armed factions have also been fighting for almost 2 months for control of Libya's biggest oil ports, Ras Lanuf and Sidr on the Mediterranean coast. The Al Mabrouk oil field closed after clashes that shut Sidr in December. Total said it had no personnel unsure since July. The so-called ISIL is a Takfiri armed group which occupies parts of Syria and Iraq and carries out terrorist attacks in various Arab lands. ISIL affiliated militants claimed an attack on a luxury hotel last week in Erbil, killing at least 9 people. That's all for today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Inas Ahmed. Good night.